Hello, 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 my friends. Good evening. This is day 7, and guess who's excited? I am. It's day 7. We made it, right? We made it. We started here Sunday night last, and we are at day 7. Can you imagine? 7. Who stuck it out to day 7? Show hands. Show hands who stuck it out to day 7. Come on. Put your name in the chat and tell me. Did you stuck it out to day 7? If you're just joining me for the first time, welcome, 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 welcome to our 7 days challenge. Tonight is the final night of this challenge. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Evadne. I'm the CEO of Ivmac Lily Wellness and Ivmac Lily Teas, and I am your plant-based lifestyle coach here at Ivmac Lily Wellness. So we went on a journey, a 7 days journey, a challenge to see if we can um, do some good for our body, right? And a lot of us had issues, so we stuck to it, right? I myself had a little bit of issue on the second day. I had a little bit of setback. I think it's from all that chocolate I was eating before. I suddenly had cravings and wanted chocolate or something sweet. That happened on the second day. But I didn't get discouraged. I just picked myself up, brushed my butt off, and continued my journey, right? I only lost 5 pounds over the week. Normally, I would do about 10, honestly, but this time it was 5. But I'm still thankful. I'm still thankful that I was able to lose 5. It just means that whatever method I was trying in terms of eating, it did not work as well as the more radical approach, which I used to have just salads and so on. Yeah, but 5 is fine. We can build on that. That's a great start. 5 pounds of fat is a lot. Don't be fooled, right? So we're thankful. So the rest of you, how well did you do? As you join, please put your name in the chat. Let me know where you're joining me from and how many days fasting did you do this week? How many days were you able to manage, right? And if you didn't, are you planning to start tonight? Go ahead and put it in the chat so we can talk about that, right? All right. So we have listened to some recordings over the week, and they have been very insightful, both motivational videos I shared with you, and I also shared some lecture from Dr. Uh, Jamnadas, right? And they're very insightful. He's a cardiologist. He did provide some really good pointers where where fasting in general is concerned and the benefits that you can get from fasting. There are lots of things that some of you might have heard for the first time, and some of you might have heard some of these things before, right? But there's a tremendous amount of benefit to gain from intermittent fasting. If you're struggling with diseases that are affected by the way you eat, intermittent fasting is definitely one of those things that you can use to help yourself to straighten out, right? We're not saying that we cure anything. We're not telling you not to deal with your doctors. We're not telling you not to go get your consult from your doctors. But we're saying speak to your doctor about trying some of these things, right? Because as far as we can tell, they do work. They work for me, they work for others, and they may just work for you, right? So think about it, do your own homework, do your research, and start some of these practices. it can only do you good, right? All right. So we're gonna jump in with a little more from Doctor. We're not gonna do the motivational part. We're just gonna start out with him, and then I'll come back and speak to you a little bit, and then I have another video that I want to share with you. Yeah. So here we go.
You might need some protein. Most of us don't need it. 99% of us don't need it. So in those patients, they have very low insulin levels, very low insulin-like growth factor levels. And there you go. So you have less diabetes, less cancer in those patients. So different diets turn these genes on and off. When you eat sugar, you turn on a gene called RAS-PKA. It's crazy. So this is a protein kinase as well. And what does that do? Again, it turns off autophagy, increases the production of your insulin, and basically makes you more inflammatory because it turns off all those things. So you become inflammatory. Sugar causes inflammation in the body. Fructose causes insulin resistance in the liver. I went over that with you all before. So sugar is very, very bad for you. Sugar is a poison. Sugar is not natural. Sugar was never found in nature. It's a totally processed food. It's processed. It's as processed food as all the other processed foods that you eat. It's just as bad. But people think sugar is just, it's natural sugar, it's sugar. No, it's not sugar. It's processed. It's totally processed. There's no such thing as sugar. It's totally processed. So if you don't want cancer, heart disease, diabetes, degenerative joint disease, inflammatory conditions of the bowels, then don't get old. Don't get old. Now, why did I say that? Because there's a lot of truth to what I'm going to say here, okay? So, all these conditions are conditions that occur in aging. If you can slow down aging, you won't get those conditions. So what is the best way to stay young? Your genetic material, and for you to constantly stay young. But I told you already how to do that.
Right? We learned about earlier how we can slow down our aging, right? So we don't have to repeat that. We learned that there are ways that you can slow down your biological age, not your calendar age, right? I would love to think that I have slowed my down somewhat. At mid-50s, I was looking at my forehead earlier, and I still don't have to use Botox. I still don't have permanent wrinkles in my forehead. That's a typical way I know that I have slowed down my age somewhat. Because do you remember what mid-50s, someone in their mid-50s used to look like? And you still have a lot of people who are 30s and 40s, early 40s, 30s, even late 20s, who are using Botox already for their face, right? So we know how we can slow down our age. It's by what we eat, how we eat, right? And throwing some intermittent fasting in there or some fasting. It does work, right? It works, it works, it works. So if you want to look young, try it. It will help you, right? See my face? I'm not even wearing anything more than some powder on it. I'm not wearing heavy foundation. I don't wear heavy foundation. I never do. Liquid foundation. I don't like it. All I put on my face is a little bit of powder, right? Light powder. But you can slow down your biological age, right? So you can be someone 40, 50, 50, and your biological age is 10 years older, 12 or 15 years older than your actual age, right? So that's what he's talking about. Okay, so let's go listen some more.
Fasting. Keep your weight down. Eat the right foods. Your genetic material will stay young. You stay younger, you're not going to get those 5 conditions. If you get prematurely old, and by the way, we're getting old fast. It's 30-year-olds and not even 20-year-olds coming into my office, then they're already 50 years old because of the lifestyle. What they're eating, their lifestyle, their sleep patterns, their stress patterns. So don't get old. So everything that I'm saying is also anti-aging. So now, does that mean I'm an anti-aging doctor? I am. But there's a lot of other people out there also doing anti-aging. But I'm a different anti-aging kind of doctor. I do it more naturally, and I know the science behind it. So I'm not going to tell you to go and, take the special cream and put it on you and eat the special concoction, because how natural is all that? Just how natural is that? I mean, if you want to be natural, then you don't walk away from one of those providers with a bag load of drugs and creams and other things. I mean, how natural is that? I have nothing to sell you. I got nothing. I got vitamin D in my office. I got vitamin K2. By the way, you all should be on vitamin K2 as well. What is vitamin K2? Vitamin K2 takes the calcium, takes it out of your tissues and puts it back into the bone where it belongs. So how come you got vitamin K2 deficiency? Because you were on that low-fat diet, right? So it's absorbed through fat. You don't have fat, you're not going to absorb vitamin K. You don't have fat, you're not going to absorb vitamin D. How do you think you all became vitamin D deficient? Because we went on this low-fat craze. Low-fat this, low-fat that. So it compounded your nutritional deficiency. When you went on a high-carb diet.
All right, so I don't want us to miss this, what the good doctor said. Vitamin K, vitamin D, we need some fat in our bodies to absorb those, right? So when we eliminate all the fats from our body, right? When we go against having a balanced diet, because a balanced diet does include fat, we remove those. So we have a problem with absorption, right? So remember that. You cannot remove totally all the fat from everything you eat. You're hurting yourself, right? You are hurting yourself. A balanced diet requires some fat in it. Some fat, a small amount, something you eat should have fat. So you can't be doing no fat milk, no fat this, no fat everything, and then think that you're doing yourself a favor. You're not. Go and exercise if you want to lose weight, but you need to have some fat in your diet. Make sense? All right. So use the coconut oil, use the olive oil. So, use some form of fat. Eat some salmon if you eat salmon, right? Those things deliver fat. All right. So don't remove all of it because it affects other things. That's the thing about nutrition. You might think that you're going low or too high on something because it works over that side, but on the other side it affects something else, and that could cause a chain reaction. So be mindful of that. Your vitamin K, your vitamin D, you need fat for those. All right.
Which is what the government told us to do, because what we did, we went on a low-fat diet and substituted all with carbs. You also became nutritionally a desert because you didn't get all the good things. Look, when you eat natural fats in natural ways, let's say you eat a piece of a fish, or you eat meat, or you eat vegetables, it comes with everything in it. So your ADEK will get absorbed with the natural fat. You need it. You need it. And that's how it's going to get absorbed, because that's how it was 2.5 million years ago. Who are you to try to change this in the last millisecond of your life, in your evolution? Okay, so let's talk about that. How many generations were before you? Because that will be an eye-opener for you. I have it written down here somewhere in my notes. How many generations have gone by? And it's a real eye-opener. Oh man, where did I write it? Oh yes. Oh yeah, here it goes. So in the 2.5 million years, there were 100,000 generations. And each generation improves on these genetic materials. So you got 100,000 generations. And then they produced the Homo sapien. How many generations were in the agricultural time since the agricultural thing happened? Only 600 generations. So 600 generations have been eating the benefits of the agricultural revolution. And what about the industrial revolution, which changed it even more? Because remember, much of the agricultural was okay, actually, because the grains were kind of whole. But in the industrial revolution, how many generations have gone by? Only 10. Only 10. You have no chance of survival. Because your genetic material hasn't had a chance to even, there's only been 10 generations. So you drastically change the way you live, you drastically change your diet, and you expect 10 generations to drastically change your genetic material. Now, if you're lucky and you procreate wisely, then maybe another 1,000 generations from now, your kids will adapt to this new diet. But right now, you stand no chance. You see what I'm saying? Stay on this diet, stay on this lifestyle. And after another 1,000, maybe 2,000, 3,000 generations, the new human being will have adapted to today's food. You won't stand a chance. So there you go. All right. So how much more time do I have? I have a little bit more time. So I want to give you a few more hints over here on fasting and things to say about fasting. So I already talked about the biochemical changes, and I told you how. So the first thing you need to do, if anyone wants to start a fasting program, is to cut down on your carbohydrates. You cannot jump into a fasting program with a regular diet. You have to first be carb conditioned. You need to cut down on no processed foods. No processed foods. Nothing unnatural. Anything that's refined. No sugar. No drinks except for water and tea and coffee. And by the way, when you're fasting, you can have tea and coffee and all that, but without the milk or cream. You can add a little bit of coconut if you want, coconut oil that is, or MCT oil, because that will give you some satisfaction and take away your hunger for a while. So that's very important. I want to say this, refeeding syndrome. So let's say one of you did decide to do a 3-day or 4-day fast. I warn you that when you start eating again, you may have a problem, because what will happen is that if you are phosphate deficient, because you're nutritionally already eating the standard American diet, the SAD diet, then you don't have enough phosphate in your body. And your bones are the biggest storage of phosphate. And most of us have osteopenia. How come we have so much osteopenia? These 30-year-old women that come to my office and I have osteopenia. How come? It's terrible. Living in Florida, they all have osteopenia. It's terrible. So obviously when she does her refeeding, she's going to get phosphate deficiency, because what happens all of a sudden, stem cells go in, they need building blocks. And one of the building blocks is phosphate to replace the cells that have died. And so you get phosphate, so you get tremendous muscle weakness and muscle aching. And that's from phosphate deficiency. And that can happen. So when that happens, you need to go and get some bone broth. So all of you should know how to make some bone broth if you've made it. The Indians have been doing it for years. But, just put some bones in there and how to cook the bone broth. You should know how to make one. Now, if you're a vegetarian, you can make it out of vegetables too. But it's very, very helpful. And even during a fast, if you absolutely have to do anything, you can have some bone broth during a fast. Okay? Bone broth. Because it's got a lot of glycine in it, and it's got phosphate, and it's got a lot of minerals in it. and that will really help you, even the magnesium. So it'll help you overcome some of your problems. So learn about bone broth, and don't buy ready-made bone broth. Make it yourself. By the way, there's lots of recipes now on the low-carb diet, what kind of breakfast, lunch, or dinner, whatever you want to cook is available. Bone broth, how to make it. My favorite book that I use is Jason Fung's book, right? Jason Fung, Fung. He's the nephrologist up in Canada, and he sees all these really heavy-duty diabetics, and he does amazing work. But you see, he's learned all these tricks to make success. So the potassium can fall, magnesium can fall, and phosphate. So refeeding, just be careful, use bone broth during that time. Already mentioned all the side effects, which are okay. Coffee, tea, I mentioned the tea, and black tea. Pardon? Medicines, yes. When you're doing fasting, it depends which medicine. Now, if you're taking diabetes medications, and I'm telling you all, if you're taking diabetes medications, they will cause a drop in your sugar level, and it could be a dangerous drop in your sugar level. Especially insulin should not be taken. And glyburide, glipizide, those agents should not be taken. But don't do that without your physician knowing. You've got to involve your physician. If you're a diabetic patient, your physician needs to know about it. If your physician doesn't want to know about it and doesn't approve of you doing fasting, maybe you need to find another one. You see, because, and look, it's not bad. Look, physicians are great, but we're taught to treat illness. Get sick, and I'll know what to do with you. But you want to stay healthy? Heck, I don't know. That's the problem we have. So it's not that they don't want to help you. It's just that they don't know. They've never been there to handle that kind of situation. I'll tell you what I do with my patients, okay? I stop the insulin right there. No more insulin, and I stop glyburide or any other agent that drops blood sugar except for metformin. I keep them on metformin. And then I tell them to measure the blood sugars. And for 3 days or 2 days, they may have high blood sugar, but that's not going to hurt them. That's not going to hurt them. So if you look at what hurts you the most, it's the high insulin level that hurts you more. If your glucose level is a little bit high, okay, that may glycate some of your proteins, but it's temporary. It's not going to hurt you in the long term, but insulin will hurt you. So that's what I've done. And for most of them, after the fast, they feel a lot better, and they can come off insulin. They should be able to come off insulin. But you got to, the trouble with physicians is, and myself included, we're so busy that ideally I would like to see you going on a fast, and then I'll see you today because we discussed it. I'd like to see you again in a couple of days at least. Now, if I'm going to stop your insulin, I might want you to take your blood sugar every day, at least 4 times, and report to my office, call the office, tell the nurse, my sugar is doing this, that, and have a very close follow-up on that. The trouble is that our system is so broken that most physicians can't do that. And if they try to do that, they'll go broke. Because there's no reimbursement for any of this stuff. It's really terrible. But that's what I'm saying. Find a physician that you can at least talk with frequently, go and see frequently if you want to come off diabetes medications. Now, all the other medications, blood pressure medication, you should take everything else. But you measure your blood pressure. You got to take things into your own hands because nobody is going to do it except you. You must take control of your life. We have become a society where we go to the doctor and say, fix me. No, you got to do it yourself. You must take your blood sugars every day, get your ketone sticks over there, get your blood pressure machine, start taking your blood pressures. If your blood pressure starts going below 100, you call the doctor, hey, my blood pressure level just need to be on Vasotac. Oh no, stop the Vasotac. Good, fine, done. And that's what happens actually. So it's hard to predict who's going to drop their blood pressure and who's not. But generally speaking, you got to be very vigilant. And you need a doctor that you can quickly approach or a walk-in clinic that you can walk into. That's why I have my walk-in clinic, right? People can walk in. And yeah, they might have to wait, but at least they're going to be seen. And if I'm tied up, at least my practitioners will take care of the patient. So your blood pressure will drop because you become volume depleted or because of your physiology changing. The physiology is changing. That's why your blood pressure is dropping. So yeah, you can come off, look, high blood pressure, sugar, high triglycerides, and low HDL. are all part of metabolic syndrome. This makes metabolic syndrome better. Therefore, your blood pressure will come down, your sugar will come down, your triglycerides will come down, and your HDL will go up. I told you all before that the lipid abnormalities that you see, very few of them are primary lipid abnormalities. The rest are all reflections of your glucose metabolism that has gone haywire. So the most important things to look for on your lipid panel is not your LDL. It's your triglycerides and HDL and the ratio of HDL to triglycerides. If it's off, you have a sugar problem. Even though your sugar is good or your hemoglobin A1C is good, if your triglycerides are high and your HDL low and the ratio is greater than 2, you probably have high insulin levels. And that needs to be determined. And the treatment of high insulin levels today is fasting.
All right. So we're going to move on from that particular video. I know it's a lot of information to take in, but as I said before, it makes more sense to you when you watch it more than once. If you're just going to watch it once and that's it, and you're not a scientific scientific minded or trained person, you might not understand a lot of what he's saying. But if you watch it, if you listen it over and over, you begin to get the whole picture and you begin to understand more. So for your own health, I would suggest that you listen to these recordings more than once. The recordings are going to be here for a while. I'm not 100% sure yet when I will remove them from the public Facebook group, but they will be inside the sorry, I'm not sure when I'll remove them from the public page, but they will be inside the group. All right. We're going to move on to a different recording from the same doctor. But I'd just like to have some feedback from you guys. Oh, I spoke to one of the persons who started out with us on this fasting journey, and she said she had a pretty rough time jumping in, so she needs follow-up help because she was not able to navigate her way into it smoothly, right? She started to have a lot of hunger and therefore she became a little bit discouraged, although she really, really wants to get this, right? All right, so like I mentioned before, it's not a perfect journey. You're going to fall off, jump back on. You're going to get discouraged, find ways to motivate yourself. You might slip up here or there, but just get back on track, right? Get back on track because it does get easier after the first 2 to 3 days. You will start to feel more comfortable doing what you're doing. And this is a good time to tell you guys that if you want to join my coaching program, where we will look at these things more closely and you get coached in a group setting or one to one, please let me know. I am looking at um, starting out in the next 2 weeks or so to take people for the coach a 4 months coaching program. So if you're interested in joining that program, don't hesitate to put your name down below or message this page or group and let me know that you are interested so we can follow up and discuss pricing and so on. But I am interested in working with persons who are willing to make the sacrifice to do better for themselves. I am I've worked with persons who have had really good results. You can see some of these results from posts in the chat from time to time. So look them up and read them yourself. Persons do get good results, and persons do lose weight or are able to regulate some issues that they may have along the way. So there's something else I need to show you. Um, which is an easy way to keep your food. The key to all of this dieting lifestyle change is how you manage your food, how you prep, right? Food prep is going to be the most important part thing on your journey. And this afternoon, I was putting some salad together. Well, I removed them from the container that they were brought in. And I just went ahead and got some jars and put some some of these green vegetables inside of it. And what I will do is a little later I'll go back and I will put other vegetables on top to make it a complete salad, so that when for the next, I think I did 4 bottles. So for the next 4 days, if I need a salad to eat, I don't have to stop to prepare a salad. The salad is already here in the jar. All I have to do is pour it out in a container and eat it, because I would have put all the stuff that I need for my salad inside the jar. I could put carrots, I could put cucumber, I could put whatever it is that I want to do. I'll just put them on layer by layer in this jar and close it up airtight. It will stay fresh. It will stay fresh for at least a week and a half, right? So I will make up these salads, and I can eat them whenever I feel like over the next week and a half to 2 weeks, right? I am thinking of doing a 3 day water fast. So I'm not sure I'll eat these right away. But I will see if I could start that tomorrow night and or next week. I'm kind of leaning towards starting right away, so that I could get the benefit riding off this fasting, just continuing and do a 3 day fast. If anyone want to take on that challenge, they can they can let me know who's up for a 3 day 3 days water fast. Just water, no food. 3 days. 3 days. No cheating. Just go for it. Pure water. Or tea. You could have tea or coffee without sugar or milk, but 3 days, no food. All right. Just that is going to be interesting, but I want to do that to make sure that my body is where it should be, right? And to lose all the residual cravings for things that I should not eat. And I would push myself those 3 days to be able to accomplish that, and to look even more radiant and more young. I am totally for that. You tell me to make me young and I will do it. Okay. I don't know who else on here would be willing to do the 3 days challenge with no food. Just hit me up and let me know, right? And if you decide that you're not going to do it, I will still do it, and I will let you guys keep keep pace with me while I go through the 3 days, so you see that it is not going to kill you, because I know it won't kill me. All right. So I'm gonna play some more of this doctor. It's a different video. So here goes. Right. I tried. I couldn't do this anymore. And then you go into more and more questions. Why? You know you have a problem. And you know that dieting and fasting is needed. There is a problem. And you know what you need to do about it. You've done it before, perhaps, but you can't stick to it. You fail your program. And then you get mad that you failed. You give up. You have tremendous cravings for the food, and you have cravings for certain activities. You can't function. You have no willpower. And you say, oh, well, doc, I just can't do it. And that's not true, because actually you may feel awful. You feel terrible. You get headaches. You get chills. You get mental fog, disorientation, sweating, anxiety, poor performance, irritability, and depression. Now, don't tell me that those of you who have tried this have not felt these symptoms. You have felt these symptoms. And your relationships suffer.
So many people tell me that I have a problem at home with my spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend or even a parent, and their relationships suffer. And then they feel terrible and they blame it on the low sugar. I'm having a low blood sugar. That's why I'm feeling so terrible, doc. And then you feel better. You go and eat again. You go and grab something. You feel so much better. Ah, I felt so good now, right? I say, oh, I got back my sugar. So you blame that sugar. And then you start feeling guilty. Then you're ashamed that you couldn't do it. You start hating yourself. You become isolated. And some people actually make themselves isolated. And then sometimes they feel terrible. Others don't feel bad. They're actually well-functioning addicts. Well-functioning addicts. There are addicts that are walking around. They may have gambling addiction, or they may have sexual addictions, or they may have even cocaine or drug addictions, and they're functioning just fine. You'd never know about it. But suddenly the wife finds that there's a whole lot of bottles in the bathroom. All of a sudden, they find out that, oh my God, he's got this gambling habit, and all of a sudden there's no money to pay the bills. There are functioning addicts. A lot of us could be functioning addicts as well. So I'm going to show you that some of these symptoms that you are having actually is because there is a subtle, very subtle onset of addiction. It is so insidious. You don't even know it's happening to you. You don't even know it's happening. So perhaps you're addicted to food. Perhaps you are addicted to food. We don't think about it that way. Perhaps I can't do this because I am addicted. And is it the type of food? Is it a component in the food? And are there substances in the food that cause an addiction? Or is it because the food has been converted into a product? And therefore it's no longer food. So today I'm going to try to throw some light on this. There are foods that will addict you. There are components in the food that will addict you. And yes, it's a product. You are consuming products, not food. And because you're consuming a product, you become addicted to it. There's chemicals in it. There's substances in it. The formation of it has changed. The consistency of the food has changed. And hence, it's no longer real food. And therefore, perhaps you are being addicted. So let's go and take a look at some more. So the importance of eliminating processed foods. Why? Why is processed food so bad? I blame processed foods for possible addiction. Processed foods cause high insulin levels. We've talked about that in my previous talks. It causes weight gain. It causes metabolic syndrome, toxicity and inflammation in the body, intestinal dysbiosis. What does intestinal dysbiosis mean? Which means that the bacteria in your intestines, they change as a result of what's getting down there into the stomach and into the intestines. So because your bacteria change, you change. Because you are a symbiotic relationship between your physiology and the physiology of the bacteria. So perhaps they're changing. As a result of their changes, can you get addicted? Yes, you can. Are there chemicals released by those bacteria that get released into your bloodstream and can affect your physiology? And the answer is a definite yes. Because remember that almost 50% of the micronutrients that are floating around in your body have been either manipulated or produced by the bacteria in your gut, and then it gets into your bloodstream. So don't think that your physiology is just your physiology. It's your physiology is a sum total of yours plus all the physiology of the bacteria and everything that it's doing. You're a symbiotic relationship. So that's very important. And could addiction cause behavioral disorders? Of course it does. Behavior changes when you're addicted. Just think about it. If somebody is addicted to cocaine, for example, or intravenous heroin, his entire behavior is going to change. There's going to be denial. He's going to be doing certain things that you would never expect him to do. He's going to be manipulative. This is so important that in order for me to talk about weight loss, in order for me to talk about maintaining your diet and changing your physiology and your biochemistry and your hormones, I got to talk about some addiction because I want to reverse my metabolic syndrome.
All right. So how many times do you think that you're addicted to foods? How many of you think you are an addict? You're addicted to soda, you're addicted to meat, you're addicted to chocolate. You're addicted to what? What else? I don't know. Candies, cakes, all sorts of things. And you can't, in some cases, you can't help yourself. You think you always have to get that. You always have to run to that. It becomes a crutch for you. If you don't have it, you don't function, right? Or so you tell yourself. That is addiction. Call it what it is. Admit it, deal with it, and move on, right? Just handle it. You know what I mean? Just handle it. Just tell yourself that you are going to do what it takes to move past some of these food addiction. And there are other addictions. You mentioned sex and all kind of other things. I don't know how those play into your um, weight loss or or your healthy journey, health and wellness journey. But there are lots of addiction that we sometimes gloss over and thinking that it's not a big deal. You can kick it when you want to, but when you come face to face with something like intermittent fasting and you realize the volume of what you need to do, the sacrifice that you have to make, and the actions that you have to put in place to guard you to achieve your goals, then you realize that these little nuances, they can become a big thing because you can't let go of the food, you can't let go of the meat, you can't let go of the sodas, you can't let go of Starbucks coffee. You can't make coffee at home for yourself without sugar or without milk. Then you realize that you have a big problem. Some of these things that you thought were just things you fancied and things you can do without if you choose to, but sometimes it can become very dicey. Smoking, you know, it can become very dicey, and that's when you have to start admitting that this is a problem I have, and I'm going to have to find a way to fix this problem because it is not a small. I thought that I could keep this whenever I want to. I thought I could do anything I want to. I was in control of this, but now look, I have to have it, and therefore I cannot make my fasting as effective as it should be because I have to have these things that would basically sabotage your journey, right? So look at them for what they are and then tell yourself that this is a problem. It is an addiction that you need to let go of and move on right along, right? So we're going to listen some more.
I want to reverse diabetes. I want to reverse sleep apnea. I want to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, degenerative joint disease, dementia, and even some cancers. Because if we do not lose weight, if we do not metabolically get back to the way we need to be, we are in deep trouble. Losing weight is not the only goal. Let me explain something to you all. If we change your biochemistry and you change your metabolism, weight loss is going to happen. Because it's not a weight loss program. You're basically changing your physiology and you're changing your hormones, and weight loss is just a side effect of it. And automatically your weight goes to where it needs to go to. What changed it first was the biochemistry, the hormones, and your entire body's system changes. Then the weight loss happens. So, what are processed foods? How do you define a processed food? This is so important. This is of utmost importance. We should be telling this to all the children who are watching. Processed foods, they are not found in nature. Not found in nature. So anything that's in a packet, a box, manufactured in a factory, that comes ready-made, that's a product. Are you going to continue to consume products? Because if you do, there's a good chance you're going to get addicted. Combination of substances that are not found in nature. For example, combination of fat and sugar. Name me one substance that's in nature that is fat plus sugar. Name one. Can you name one? There's not one substance that occurs in nature with that type of combination. Now, when the body sees these combination of nutrients coming in, how's it going to react? So there's lots of biochemistry I can talk about. I can talk about the mitochondria, and the mitochondria has been bombarded by the sugar, but then along come the fats also. It's causing like a congestion on a highway, and these poor mitochondria cannot function properly. And what symptoms you're going to get when you get mitochondrial dysfunction? You're going to get fatigue and tiredness and lack of energy. I'm just giving you one example. But these combinations, these unnatural combinations cause an unnatural reaction in your body. The body is superbly designed to handle nutrients in certain combinations as they come in. For example, I've talked to you about fiber before. I told you that there are two types of fiber, soluble and insoluble fiber. So when the fiber is mixed in with the food that's naturally produced, the fiber goes in, it forms a little mesh in the duodenum so that the sugar that's mixed in and the carbohydrates mixed in with the food does not get exposure to the K cells in the duodenum. So the duodenum doesn't see all that sugar, so it doesn't send a signal via GIP to the pancreas to say, hey, give me all the pancreatic juices you got. Give me all the insulin you possibly got. It doesn't do that. There's a small reaction. So the pancreas produces a small amount of insulin. Why? Because the fiber prevented that sudden surge in the insulin production. And then as the food goes down, it slowly gets absorbed. So there's this nice, slow dissipation of the nutrients into the bloodstream. That doesn't happen when you eat foods without fiber, without its natural state. You see, nature makes these packages because it's designed that way. And we then have our body, because we evolved in this way 2.5 million years ago with those nutrients, to be able to handle those in that package, the way it comes. So the combinations of fat and sugar are unnatural combination, modified by man, made into a product such as flour. There's no such thing as flour out there in nature. The steel mill got invented, as I told you all before, in the year 1860-something. And since then, the incidence of degenerative joint disease, heart attacks, myocardial infarction, and diabetes gone off the roof. Look, that even when you masticate your food, the mastication produces a certain amount of grinding down of the food, but it never makes it into a powder. There's no way you got that great teeth. I don't have that kind of teeth either. So what happens is that this powderized stuff gets right in there and creates this tremendous surge in hormones because it doesn't know what to do with it. This is totally unnatural. Now, if you give pellets to the rats, their response in hormones, their weight, activity, everything's totally different than if you give them the same food in a powderized form. Same grams, same weight, but in a powderized way. So the more refined the product is, the greater the release all of a sudden. So all flour, in my opinion, all flour should be avoided. Not only is the flour bad for you for this reason, but it stripped off everything, the endosperm. You took out the germ, you took out the outer bran, and you're left with that pure carbohydrate, and then you ground it way, way down. And that's what flour is. Flour is a survival food. It was made so that you extract all these things so that now it can last forever. So now you can put it in a sack and you can get it through winter, and you can actually survive through winter. It's a survival food, but now we use it every day. Every day we're addicted to this, and I'll show you how we're addicted to it. So flour, chemicals added, salt, sugar, colorings, sweeteners. Sweeteners are addictive too. I'll show you. Sweeteners are addictive. You know people who are taking diet cokes and they just diet drinks and sodas. They just cannot. Oh yeah, I got off my regular sodas, but now I'm on diet sodas. So how much diet soda do you have? I have about 4 of them a day. I just go through the day with my diet sodas. I'm thinking, you're addicted. You're addicted because the same sweeteners, such as sucrose, get to the brain, to the dopamine centers, which will come to you in a second, but they stimulate the same place as sugar does. So what happens? The sweet taste in the mouth. So in this case, it's not the calories that are going in there. It's not the sugar that's going to the dopamine center. It's the taste. Insulin is already going to get secreted, and you're already setting up an addiction. So even with these sweeteners, there is a small insulin response. It's a cephalic phase, that sweet taste on your tongue. causes all that. And then in anticipation, you become more hungry because you get certain hormones secreted into the bloodstream, such as orexin, for example. But basically, the long and short of it is diet drinks don't make you lose weight. Diet drinks don't improve your physiology. Diet drinks actually make you more addicted, and you end up eating more and gaining more weight, and your physiology does not get better. So that's just another.
All right, you heard that. That's a good note to end that broadcast on. Diet drink does more harm than good, right? Doesn't make you lose weight. So don't switch from regular sodas to diet soda and think you're doing yourself a great service. You're not, right? And so this is a good time for me to remind you that I will be starting our 4 months program in the middle of October. And I'm inviting those of you who are interested to let's have a conversation about that. And I am going to be doing a 3 days water fast right after this is ended. Maybe I'll start tomorrow night. And I hope that I could get a few of you to come along with me on that journey. 3 days, no food, just water, right? Water. Okay. Yeah. And if you feel like you're gonna die, you probably could have some bone broth, but nothing else. Tea without sugar, coffee without sugar or milk. We're just gonna do it natural. We're gonna do it rough and natural, right? And see who survives with 3 days. You're not gonna die. You will not die. You will just do something great for your body, which is what I'm about to try to do for myself. After 3 days fasting, there's a lot of purging that would have gone on, and it should be in a better place mentally and physically. And yeah, I just want to thank you for participating in these evening programs for 7 days. Some of you have watched all in the series, some of you have watched a few, and some of you maybe have just watched one, right? But if you have not watched all of them, go back to the beginning and try to see it all. And also, it's not too late to comment. You could leave a comment for me in the chat whenever you watch it, right? Share it with your friends on your network. That helps. That's great support. And I just want to let you know that I really, really appreciate you guys. I do appreciate you even making the first step towards watching or participating is a step in the right direction. Don't think of it as nothing. It is something. It means that you're willing to see how you can make this happen for yourself. You're willing to create a better lifestyle for yourself and your family and your friends in some cases. So I'm extremely excited that you really pay attention and you're willing to make this step forward, right? And I would just want to encourage more of you to jump in and do something. Jump in and do something for yourself, right? Do something for your family. Because especially you women who are the the one responsible for the meals at home, in most cases, you're the one responsible to cook, you're the one responsible for the meal planning, you're the one who responsible for shopping in a lot of cases. You have a great responsibility to make sure that you provide your family with the best nutrition, with the best quality food possible, and you guide them into eating safe and stay alert and stay on the track of achieving good health. You do have that responsibility. Sometimes it's the father, sometimes it's shared between both, but a lot of the time it's the mothers that have the responsibility. So you do what you know is it's you need to do for your family, right? It is your responsibility. No matter how busy you get, no matter how overwhelmed you get, you cannot leave McDonald's to feed your family, or you cannot leave um, the restaurant up the road, the Chinese restaurant or whatever, up the road to be the people who feed your family every evening or every lunchtime. You have a part to play, and you should start playing that part, playing that role of making sure your family is getting good nutrition. And if it's the father that is doing the cooking and the shopping and the purchase, and the planning of meals, the same goes to you. You have a responsibility to make sure your family gets the best of nutrition, especially when you have kids and they're in school and so on. You cannot let fast food take over their lives. And even for yourselves as adults too, you have to pay attention to what you're putting in your bodies. You want to be keeping the doctors away, and you want to make sure that should you get sick, your immune system is up, your immune system is good, it can fight off diseases, and you can remain viable even in the face of a challenge, a health challenge. It won't take you out because your body is strong. All right. Remember, I also showed you this is a great way to take your food, to store your food so that you would always have something in your refrigerator that you can take to work or grab and eat at any time. And so you can skip eating fast foods because you can always just grab a jar that's already made up with salad. So you just pour the content in a plate, and you have a salad that's ready to eat. You could just add your protein, whatever that protein may be, or you could have it without protein. It's still great without, right? With or without, it's okay. Okay, so start practicing some of these things. Start planning ahead, do your meal prep, and everything should improve for you and your family as far as your lifestyle goes. All right. So, again, I want to thank you guys for being a part of this journey. And I am going to sign out now for these 7 day um, challenge. These 7 days went by quickly, but I'm happy they're over and I can move on to something else. So I will keep you posted about the 3 days water challenge. The water fast that should be coming up soon. I'm going to put myself through that, and if you are willing to do the same, you can let me know so I have some company to do those 3 days of no eating but water. All right. Okay, so take good care of yourself, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for sharing. Goodbye.